Hey, what's up guys, Lewis here, and today we're going to have a look at how to give your footage the summer touch. Now, I think we can all agree it might be somewhat silly to say that there's a specific grade to give your footage to make it feel like summer, because of course if you're filming with just natural contrast, natural saturation of a family at the beach eating ice cream, I'm sure it's going to be quite obvious that it's summer. However, sometimes you may find, perhaps due to camera settings or due to the colours at the location, you're just not getting that summer feel, and you need to do something in order to make it feel more like summer, or just perhaps that you filmed outside of the season, filming early spring, late winter, and it doesn't inherently look like summer. So these are going to be 4 things you can do to make sure that your footage feels like it's scorching hot in the middle of August. As consumer cameras are increasingly housing better dynamic range, and then when coupled with RAW, it allows filmmakers to rescue highlights and shadows in a way that just wasn't possible several years ago. However, just because you can recover everything doesn't mean you should. Let's look at this example. It was filmed in February. It's a lovely, beautiful, scenic location, and I've already set up the grade for where I want it to be, and I've brought back those highlights so we can see all of the detail of the sky and the clouds. However, this shot doesn't inherently scream summer, and it's because we can see too much of the sky. Here's something to think about. During the summer, the sun is high in the sky for a prolonged period, and then we have golden hour tacked on at the start and end of each day. With a lengthy amount of time in the sky and with the earth tilted closer to the sun, it's a lot brighter in the summer. And it's why so many also avoid shooting in midday, because it doesn't always look great. If we look at many summer clips, we'll often see this whitewashed spot within the sky when facing the sun. And this image subconsciously tells us it's likely to be summer. Therefore, instead of rescuing the highlights, I recommend safely bringing the highlight level up to a point where this area is somewhat hot. Now, I say somewhat because of course we don't want to clip these values. We don't want it to be overexposed. We just want it to be bright. So be sure to check the scopes, but having this area at a bright value reinforces the imagery of a very sunny summer day at the beach. You can do this in several different ways, but I will do so by just adjusting the midtones and the highlights within the curve panel. Now, you may have a shot that was filmed in the summer, but it's feeling off. There's something wrong with the grade, like this. There's something that doesn't feel right, and for me, it's that it's too cold, especially on the actress's face, and it needs to be warmed up. You may initially be drawn to simply adjusting the color temperature and warming up the shot, but you have to remember that this is primarily a tool to find the correct white balance. While yes, it will add a cold or warm cast to your image, it doesn't necessarily look right when used in abundance because we're adding warmth or cold into all regions of the image. And realistically, we just want the warmth of that summer hitting the highlights. Therefore, to get your summer grade looking great, I would recommend using the color wheels or the curves to implement the warm tones into the highlights and the upper midtones, not the temp tool. So I prefer using curves for this, and to show you what I'm going to do, first I'm going to bring down the blue highs to reduce any cool elements within the highlights, and then ever so slightly bring down the green highs to further emphasize the red channel, which is going to stay put at the top. Now in doing this, we've given a nice warmth to the brighter elements across the entire image, and I tend to employ this across all my summery clips, as you can really see the difference with and without it, and even more so the difference when if you were just to apply a warm color temperature adjustment, as we really want to keep the colors natural but warm, and using the curves allows us to do this, as we can precisely adjust which tonal region we want to affect rather than the entire image. Okay, so let's just quickly talk about genre conventions, generic conventions. These are elements within a film that are not necessarily grounded within reality, but they've been used so much that it's just become imprinted onto us. So now if a filmmaker just wants to establish something quickly, they can introduce a genre convention and we automatically associate it with that genre. If I say tumbleweed on a dry road, you're going to think of a Western film. A hero with an older mentor, you're going to think of a fantasy film. And these genre conventions are also found in music and also color grading. Perhaps somewhat damaging to a degree with the color grading, because I'm sure you might have seen the memes of how a lot of Western media outlets will portray the Middle East or Mexico with that yellow tint, when in reality they look nothing like that. Additionally, London usually has like a steel cold look. But with those aside, summer also has a few genre conventions in regarding to grading. There's a specific grading element that is sometimes used to reinforce the summer notion. And do you know what that is? It's this, the heavy grad filter. They are overly used in a lot of American shows that are situated on the coast. CSI Miami is a prime example. So whatever the software you are using, you want to take the gradient tool, position it halfway within the sky, not the entire sky, then bring down the highlights to create the deep rich blue associated with those endless hot cloudless days. If you're going for quite a stylized look, it's better to keep the gradient line quite hard rather than it being a soft dissolve into the normal sky. I will say this isn't something that I typically employ, but it's used in countless ads and so on, so I would also recommend in bumping up the saturation of the gradient node or gradient layer to further emphasize that summer feel. Finally, we're going to talk about the hue of the sky, again falling on the idea of genre conventions, as this is used in a lot of pop music videos, kid shows, adverts, whatever it may be, and that's when there's a slight twinge of teal to the sky. This will often correlate to the fairly popular teal and orange color correction, and on a sunny day this will naturally come from the sandy beaches and warm surroundings. And as that teal is a complementary colour to the warm areas, the sky is perfect to slightly adjust to that to get a nice balanced looking image. So again, if you're finding that your footage isn't expelling summer, what you can do is find your hue versus hue tool, whatever that may be in your software of choice, and select the blue sky, and then very slightly change the hue until it falls within the teal area. Then slightly also boost the saturation. Again, this is more of a stylized element than the first two practical grade adjustments, but one that you can easily use if you're filming later into the year where it's not so summery. Now you can mix and match these different adjustments wherever you may see fit to get the result that you're trying to gain for, but of course a lot of the time it is going to be dependent on what you're filming at the location. If you're trying to establish a summer scene in the middle of winter, and we can see that there's bare bone trees, all of these tips, it isn't going to help you. Alright, so I hope you've enjoyed these tips. I've been Lewis with Shutterstock, and I will catch you guys next time.
Absolutely necessary. But it's absolutely necessary.